In this video, we're going to cover the basics of how to play Warhammer 40,000 9th edition. Whether you've just discovered the hobby, used to play a previous version, or just want a quick recap, this is the perfect video for you. You're watching Midwinter Minis, my name's Guy, and to help you learn the rules, we're going to play a small practice game. I'll be playing as the Orcs, a savage race of aliens that love charging in and smashing stuff up. Joining me is my partner Penny.
Hello everyone, I'll be Guy's opponent, and I'm playing as Necrons today. Basically, undead skeleton robots in space. These guys are good at shooting and difficult to kill.
Now these are just two of the armies you'll find in Warhammer 40k. There's loads of different kinds. Space Marines, Imperial Guard, terrifying bug monsters, sci-fi elves, literal demons, massive mechs. If you're brand new to Warhammer and don't have any models yet, I'd recommend you just go for whatever models you think look the coolest first. You'll probably have loads of fun building and painting them, and you'll be inspired to play some games. You don't need a huge army with hundreds of models to play your first game. I'd always recommend starting out with just 1 or 2 boxes of models. This will help you get your head around the rules without bogging you down memorizing loads of statistics, profiles and special rules. As you get more experience, you can start adding things at a pace that you feel comfortable with. So let's assume that you've picked up a few models. There's a couple of other things that you'll need to play your first game. You're going to need a few 6-sided dice. You'll also need a measuring tape that shows inches. And to give your model something to hide behind and use as cover, it's good to have a few terrain pieces. This can be stuff you've bought, things you've made yourself, or anything you have lying around really. Shoeboxes, books and bottles make great starter terrain. A bit of imagination and it's not junk from your shelf, it's a munitions factory, a chemical silo, or a high-tech storage facility. Let's take a quick look at the models we'll be using in this game. So this is my little orc army. Leading them is this crazy character. This is a weird boy, a powerful orc that's full of psychic energy. He hasn't got any guns, but he can channel his psychic powers to do some pretty nasty things to his enemies. I have a squad of orc boys, the core foot soldiers of any orc army. They have a squad leader, a bigger, nastier orc known as a knob. They're armed with choppers and powerful pistols called sluggers. One of the orc boys has a massive machine gun called a big shooter. Finally, I have this clanky looking mech called a Death Dread. It's tough, well armoured, and packs a mean punch up close with its huge claws and a flamethrower.
Well, I'm not too worried about that, because I've got 20 spooky robot skeletons that are going to laser your green space monkeys to death.
Are you going to tell people what they're actually called?
Maybe. These are Necrons, and this little army is really simple. 2 squads of Necron warriors, 10 models in each team. They're all using the same weapons, Gauss flayers.
Now, all of these models have statistics that tell you what they're able to do in the game. This is called a datasheet. Don't worry, this might look a bit complicated at first, but it's quite simple. Let's do a quick introduction to each stat so you know what to look out for when we're actually playing the game. M stands for movement. This is how far these models can move, measured in inches. WS means weapon skill, how good they are at fighting up close. BS stands for ballistic skill, or how accurate they are at shooting. S stands for strength, and T stands for toughness. These are used to determine whether or not attacks actually cause wounds. And speaking of wounds, that's what the W means, how many wounds a model can sustain before it dies. A stands for attacks, the number of physical attacks that a model can make in the up-close fight phase. LD is for leadership, how brave or disciplined that model is. And finally, save stands for, well, save. That represents the defensive property of the model's armour. Don't worry if that's a lot to take in, we'll learn how each stat works in the game as we go during the video. Some models also have special rules that will help them out during the game, and we'll bring these up as we use them too. Most armies in the game also have things called sub-factions that add even more special rules. Clans for the orcs, dynasties for the Necrons, but for this game we'll ignore them just to keep things simple. While this video will teach you all the core concepts and basics of how to play, it's also helpful to have the official rules handy too. There's an official free PDF of the core rules on the Warhammer website. You can find a link to that in the video description. There's an official app too, which also has the core rules. If you prefer having a book, the official rulebook for the game itself is filled with loads of background, cool art, little stories, and, of course, the full rules, covering everything you need to know for the actual game itself. Also, each army has its own rulebook, known as a codex. that has all of the statistics for all of the models in that army, and the army-wide special rules. So for example, to find the Necron Warrior datasheet, you'll want to pick up the Necron Codex. For the Weird Boy, Orc Boys, and Death Dread, you'll find them in the Orc Codex, and so on. Now, if you're brand new to the hobby, these are very heavy reads. I would recommend staying away from them until you're a little bit more confident with the basics that we're going to be teaching you here.
One free app that we use every single time we play Warhammer 40k is called Battlescribe. It's a simple army builder that features basic information on your army, their statistics, and their rules. A very handy reference. Once you've built your list based on the models that you have, you can hit the View button and it'll show you all the rules and stats that you need to play. If you don't have a codex, you might want to print this out for easy reference later on.
Okay, ready to play our first game, and the perfect time to bring up the most important rule. Have fun. Remember that you're playing a game, and that games are meant to be fun. If you're unsure of a rule, or can't figure out how a specific thing works, just make a note of it so you can figure it out later, come to an agreement with your opponent on how to proceed, and just carry on with your game. Here's our little battlefield set up with some terrain. Penny and I agreed that this short game is going to last 3 battle rounds. Regular games of 40k last between 4 and 6. We've also got 4 objective markers on the table. Our armies can score victory points by controlling them, being within 3 inches of an objective at the start of their turn. For this mission, objectives will be worth 5 victory points each if they're held. We start scoring these from battle round 2. The winner will be whoever has the most victory points, or whoever totally destroys their opponent's army. This makes games of 40k a little bit more interesting than just shooting and chopping each other into bits. In this scenario, we're going to be deploying our squads so that they're 24 inches from each other. That way, we'll be able to show you the different dynamics of the game, both at longer range and up close.
Just a quick note on terminology for the rules before we begin. Individual fighters within a squad are referred to as models, while the squads are referred to as units. When placing and moving your models, if they're in units like both these boys or warriors are, you need to keep the models in what's called unit coherency, which is basically a fancy way of saying that models have to be within 2 inches of each other. In Warhammer 40k, we always measure distances from the edges of the bases, not any weird sticky out bits on the models themselves.
And one last thing before we begin. 9th edition 40k uses a concept called command points. Special points which can be used to enact tactics called stratagems. To keep things simple, each army will only get 1 command point to use for the whole game, and the only stratagems we'll be able to use are the command point reroll, which lets you reroll certain failed tests, saves and rolls if you just really hate the result, or Overwatch, the ability to desperately shoot at a unit that's charging you. Okay, the models are set up in our deployment zones and are ready to fight. To decide who goes first, we roll off. I rolled higher, so I get to go first. Each turn consists of a few different phases. These are command, movement, psychic, shooting, charge, fight, and morale. Let's work through them in order. Orcs turn 1. The command phase is where you score victory points, generate command points if our armies are battle-forged, and where some powerful leaders may issue commands to their troops to improve their abilities. My orcs don't have anything like that, and we wait until round 2 to start scoring victory points from objectives. And we said we'd stick to having just 1 command point for this demo game, so we don't get to do anything during this command phase. In the movement phase, I can move my models if I want to. We can find out how far they can move by looking at the datasheet. As we said, the M is for movement, and we can see that the Weird Boy and Orc Boys have a movement of 5 inches. These boys will start moving up the battlefield towards the Necrons. The Weird Boy will do the same, staying behind the boys for a bit of protection. The Death Dread has a movement of 6, but because its weapons only have a 12-inch range, it wants to close the gap fast. It's going to do a special move called an advance, where it sacrifices shooting or charging to move even further. To determine how many extra inches it moves, we roll a dice and add the number to its movement characteristic. A 4. So adding 4 inches to its 6-inch move, that means I'll be running up the battlefield 10 inches. Rather than run in a straight line, I'm going to aim at that objective marker, so I end up within 3 inches of it. That means at the start of the next battle round, I'll score some victory points. All of my models have now moved. You can keep your models still if you want, but once you're happy, it's time to move on to the psychic phase. The Psychic phase is where powerful, warp-infused Psykers can use their powers. My Psyker, the Weird Boy, knows 3 abilities. Decrunch, which can smash enemies to bits, Warpath, which makes my orcs even more ferocious in close combat, and Smite, the default offensive psychic power that all Psykers in 40k can use. Annoyingly, those abilities all have an 18-inch range, and the Weird Boy is too far away from the Necrons to do anything this turn, so let's move on to the shooting phase. I can now choose to fire at Penny's Necrons from any unit that has a weapon in range. So now let's take a look at the datasheet for our weapons and... all of our sluggers only have a 12-inch range, and Penny's Necrons are about 19 inches away. And that means only the big shooter, with a range of 36 inches, can shoot. To let Penny know what my intentions are, I declare my targets. So I'm going to be firing the big shooter from this squad of Orc boys into that squad of Necron warriors.
Ooh, they're quaking in their skeleton boots.
To find out how many shots we get to take, we look at the weapon type. This type is Daka 5-3. That's a special Orc weapon type. That means it can fire 5 times at half range, and that would be within 18 inches, or 3 times at its max range of 36. So we're at 19 inches, so we're only going to get 3 shots. Better make them count. I pick up 3 dice, 1 for each shot my weapons are making, and now we need to find out if these shots are accurate and actually hit their target. This is known as rolling to hit. To figure out what we need to roll, we look at the Orc Boys datasheet again, but this time we're looking for the BS, ballistic skill. Orcs aren't the most accurate marksmen, and we can see that it says 5+. So for each dice we roll that lands on a 5 or higher, that shot will hit its mark. We'd call this roll requirement a 5-up. So let's do it. That was actually pretty lucky, 2 hits. Let's remove that single dice that failed, and then we can roll to see if any of those accurate shots wound the Necron warriors. This is called, obviously, rolling to wound. To figure out what we need to roll, we compare the strength, S, of the big shooter against the toughness, T, of the Necron warriors. The big shooter is a pretty powerful weapon and has a strength of 5. The Necron warriors have a toughness of 4. Because the strength of the attack is greater than the toughness of the target, the shots will wound on a 3+. Let's roll. Nice! Both of those dice score 3 or higher, meaning both shots wound. Now there's a chance that the Necron's armor plates could negate the wounds from this attack. For each successful wound I just rolled, the victim of the attacks, that's Penny, has to roll 1 dice.
So, 2 dice in hand, but what do I need to roll? I check out the Necron warrior datasheet and see that they have a save value of 4+. That means that if I roll a 4 or higher on any of these dice, the warrior's armor will protect them and they don't lose the wound. Let's roll. 1 success, but 1 failure. That means my Necron warrior unit takes 1 wound, and as we can see, the wound stat says 1. That means each model only has 1 wound, and so a single model from the unit was shot and destroyed by the big shooter and has to be removed from play. Or does it? Necrons have a special rule called Reanimation protocols. Basically, they're always reassembling and putting themselves back together. For every wound I lose, I can roll another dice, and if I score a 5 or a 6, the destroyed Necron puts itself back together and can be put back onto the battlefield. Oh well, not this time. Bye bye, Skelly Boy. If one of your units takes wounds, you decide which models to remove, not the person doing the attacking.
As none of the other weapons are in range, that means it's now the end of the shooting phase, and we can move on to the charge phase. For a unit to be able to charge, they need to be a maximum of 12 inches away from an enemy. This is because the charge distance is determined by rolling 2 dice and combining the result. The orcs are still quite far away, so there's no way the boys can charge the Necrons, and the Death Dread advanced, so it can't charge. Let's move on to the fight phase, but as we know, no unit successfully charged, and there are no ongoing fights, so we can skip straight to the morale phase. This happens at the end of each player's turn. Units that lost models now have to see if any of their squad mates are scared off by the carnage happening around them.
To see if any of my Necrons run away, I check their leadership value on the datasheet. That's 10, really high, meaning they almost never retreat. Let me run you through how to take a leadership test though, even though I know I'm going to pass it. Even though the rules call it a morale test, you'll find that most players, us included, still call it a leadership test. That's what it was called in most previous editions of the game, and old habits die hard. First, you roll a single dice and add the number of models you lost from that squad to the number you roll. So that's 4 plus 1. If that number goes over the leadership value, then we fail the test. Obviously, I couldn't have failed, because even if I rolled a 6, I would have scored a maximum of 7, which is not even close to my leadership of 10. I'm sure we'll see what a failed test looks like in a minute when I start shooting at the orc boys. I obviously passed this test, and nothing else needs to be done.
And that's my turn over, and it's time for Penny to take her turn in Battle Round 1.
Okay, Necron's turn 1, and I start with the command phase. This is normally where you generate more command points if your army was battle forged, but as Guy said at the start, we're just getting a single command point each this whole game. And I can't score points this turn because it's round 1, so let's get straight on with the movement phase. Let's take a quick look at the Necron Warrior datasheet, and we've got a 5-inch movement. Even though I want to try to grab one of those objectives in the middle, getting close to the orcs is a stupid idea, so this bottom squad are going to back off a bit, but keeping all of those models within range of my Gauss flayers. That's 24 inches. Well, I'm not keen on getting too close to that Death Dread, so I'm going to move this top squad back a bit, so I'm still within 3 inches of this objective, controlling it, but hopefully too far away from the orky mech thing for it to charge me in Guy's next turn. That's both of my squads moved, now onto the psychic phase, but I don't have any psyker models. Guy's weird boy is the only one. Nothing to do here, onto the shooting phase. This is where the Necrons really shine. First off, declare your targets. I'm going to use my top unit to fire at the Death Dread, and the bottom unit to fire at the boys. Even if I wanted to fire at the weird boy, and I was in range, I couldn't at the moment because he's a character. It says character on his datasheet, and that means I can't target him unless he's the closest unit to the unit that is firing. Think of it like the boys are getting in the way, protecting him. Let's do the top squad first. 10 Necron warriors firing Gauss flayers, which have the type Rapid Fire 1. This means they do one shot normally, but at half range they double their shots. Their range is 24 inches and the Death Dread isn't within my half range, so just 10 shots for this unit of Necrons, 10 dice in hand. Necron warriors are pretty accurate, and you can see their ballistic skill is 3+. This means they'll hit on any result that's a 3 or higher. Let's roll! 6 hits, not bad. Let's see if the successful shots hurt the Death Dread. The Gauss Flayer's strength is 4, but the Death Dread has a huge toughness of 7. Because the attacking strength is less than the target's toughness, you have a smaller chance to inflict damage, and only wound on a 5 or more. Let's roll those 6 successful shots and see if we hurt it. Okay, 3 of them are successful. That nasty orky mech thing is pretty heavily armoured though, and you can see on its profile that it has a save value of 3+. That would mean that Guy gets to roll 3 dice and try to negate those wounds on any roll of a 3 or more. But these Necrons have got a little trick up their sleeves. Do skeletons have sleeves? No, but they do have armour penetration. If you look at the Gauss Flayer's weapon profile under AP, armour penetration, it says -1. That means you reduce armour saves against that weapon by 1, so that 3+ becomes 4+.
Okay, so let me try to save these 3 wounds by rolling a 4 or more on each dice. Nah, only 1.
Each successful Gauss Flayer attack only causes 1 damage, so that's 2 damage total to go through to the Death Dread. Unlike the warriors and orc boys though, the Death Dread doesn't just have 1 wound, it has lots, to represent that it's a big hulking machine that is difficult to kill. Looking at its profile, we see that it has a W, wounds, of 8, so we take 2 wounds off of it, bringing it down to 6. A lot of people like to leave a small dice next to models with lots of wounds, showing how many wounds it has left, to remind both you and your opponent. Okay, time for the next unit to fire. I'm targeting the orc boys, but this time I've only got 9 warriors firing, because Guy killed one of them in his turn. Rude. So, 9 shots, hitting on 3s, the ballistic skill of the warriors. Ho ho, nice! 8 shots hit. Now, let's figure out what we need to wound. We know the Gauss flares are strength 4. Let's take a look at the orc's toughness. 5. That means my attacking strength is still lower than the target's toughness, so I'm still wounding on 5s. Let's roll those 8 successful hits and see if we wound. Oh no, just 3. Now let's see if Guy's orc boys can fend off those wounds with armour saves. If we look at the save value on the orc profile, we can see it says 6+. They're basically just wearing makeshift armour and t-shirts, not very protective. But remember the armour penetration value on my Gauss flayers? It's -1, so that makes that 6+ save 1 point worse, making it 7, which is impossible to roll on a 6-sided dice, so Guy doesn't get to make any armour saves at all. We know that 3 wounds have been caused. Again, the damage on the Gauss flares is just 1, so each wound will kill exactly 1 orc boy.
So I'm going to remove 3 of the regular boys with sluggers and choppers. I want to keep that orc with the big shooter in the fight.
Well, that is all the shooting I've got. Now we move on to the next phase, which is the charge phase. I'm intentionally keeping my distance here. I don't want to engage the orcs up close, so I'm not going to declare any charges. I'm not even within 12-inch range anyway, so even if I wanted to, I couldn't. No charges, no ongoing fights, so we can skip the fight phase.
And now it's time for the morale phase. The orcs use the highest leadership in their unit, so that would be 7 for the boss knob. So let's see if they pass or fail the leadership test. Roll the dice, and add the number of lost models. I rolled a 5. That brings the total to 8, more than the boss knob's leadership. That means the squad's bravery cracks, and I lose a model straight away. Then we do a thing called an attrition test for the rest. We roll a dice for every model left in the unit, and for each roll of a 1, we lose another model. Phew, no 1s. That was quite lucky.
That's my turn over. Now we start battle round 2, following the same turn order, so Guy goes first.
First up, the command phase. My ranks are getting a bit thin now, but I'm within 3 inches of 2 objectives, and that means I score 5 points for each of those, bringing my total victory points to 10. I can see that Penny's only going to score 5 points for that single objective she's on at the start of her turn, so points-wise, I've got a tactical advantage at the moment. In the movement phase, rather than hanging around the objectives, I'm going to go full-on offensive and move everything up to get into range of shooting and hopefully charging. Because I want to be able to charge if I roll well enough, I'm not going to advance the Death Dread, so just a regular 6-inch move here. I'll move the orcs their 5 inches, and the weird boy too, making sure to keep him behind my other models so Penny can't target him. Now it's time for the psychic phase, and we're within 18-inch range now, so this time we'll actually be able to do something. Oh yes. So let's choose the best psychic power to cast. Annoyingly, my boys aren't going to be within charge range this turn, so there's no point casting Warpath to give them more attacks. Let's choose to crunch on that full strength unit of Necrons at the top instead. Now I have to roll to see if the weird boy can manifest enough psychic energy to smash those Necrons. Looking at the profile of the ability, we can see that it needs a warp charge of 6 or more, so we roll 2 dice to see if we can get it. Yes, adding those dice together means I get a 9, so the crunch is happening. For this particular psychic power, you roll 1 dice for every model in that unit, so that's 10, and for every 6 I roll, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. But look a bit closer at the description. If I rolled a 9 or more in the psychic test, you add 1 to the rolls. So that would mean 5s and 6s cause mortal wounds. Let's roll. Okay, 3 mortal wounds caused. Mortal wounds are different from regular wounds, because you're not allowed to take armour saves against them. That means 3 Necron warriors are, well, they're just dead, and you can't even use reanimation protocols to bring them back, because they didn't die in the shooting phase or fight phase. A decent start. Now let's move on to the shooting phase. My Death Dread has a weapon called a Scorcher, which is a big flamethrower with a 12-inch range. Let's measure and check we're in range. Yep. So let's shoot. Time to declare our targets. So my Death Dread is firing at this top squad, and my squad of boys will target the bottom squad of warriors. Now we can see how many shots I can make with the Death Dread. The profile says Assault D6. The assault part means that you can fire after advancing, but at a penalty, reducing your to hit roll by -1. We didn't advance, so that's fine, but what does D6 mean? Well, simply it means that we roll a single dice, known as a D6, to see how many shots it makes. A 1. That's obviously pretty bad and a huge waste of this weapon's potential. I think this is a good time to use my command point to reroll that, and hopefully get a better result. A 3. A bit better, but still not great. Okay, now what do we roll to hit? Well, if we take a look at the weapon's special rules for the Scorcher, it says it automatically hits. This happens with nearly all flamethrower type weapons, which is why people love taking them. So the 3 attacks we generated hit automatically, so we move straight onto the wound rolls. The Scorcher has a strength of 5 against the Warrior's toughness of 4, so that means we're wounding on 3s. 2 wounds made, now it's time for the Warriors to make their armour save throws. The Scorcher has an armour penetration modifier of -1, so the Warriors have their 4+ save reduced to 5+. So Penny, roll 2 dice for those 2 wounds and see if you can save them on a 5 or more.
Nope. But remember, I get to use my reanimation protocols to see if they rebuild themselves. On a 5 up, 1 does, but 1 fails. Check this out though. In the special rules for my Necron warriors, it says I get to reroll failed reanimation rolls of 1. Ha! Both of them put themselves back together.
Not the result I wanted, but let's see if the boys can do better. The majority of the boys are still outside of their small 12-inch range with their sluggers, but the big shooter is in range. Just outside of half range, that's annoying, so I only get to make 3 attacks rather than 5. 3 shots, hitting on 5s. Nothing at all. Well, that's orc shooting for you. I'm not too worried though, because now it's time for the charge phase. I now have to declare the charges I intend to make. The distance between your unit and the enemy has to be 12 inches or less, otherwise there's no way you can make a successful charge. So, Penny, I'm going to charge my Death Dread into this top squad of Necron warriors.
This seems like a pretty good time to use my command point to Overwatch with my warriors. This means I get to shoot out of turn at something that is charging me. You can only do this if the unit firing Overwatch isn't already tied up in a fight. These warriors are free and easy, so let's do it. Using my single command point, I can now shoot at the Death Dread. The only downside is that, because this is supposed to be a kind of last-ditch attempt to get some shots off, you only hit on 6s, no matter what your ballistic skill is. On the plus side, you're within 12 inches, and that's half range of my Gauss flares. Remember, they're rapid fire 1, so now I get to fire twice. So that's 7 warriors firing twice. 14 shots! 4 6s, pretty decent. And we can remember from before that the strength of these weapons is lower than the toughness of the target, so I'm only wounding on 5s. 2 wounds, that's okay.
With the -1 armour penetration from the Gauss flares, that means my armour save is reduced from a 3+ to a 4+. Well, I fail both of them. 1 damage from each shot means I lose another 2 wounds on the Death Dread. It's now down to 4 wounds. Okay, Overwatch resolved. Now I can actually try to make the charge. There's just under 10 inches between the Death Dread and the warriors, and for a charge to be successful, you need to end up within 1 inch of the target, so I'll need to travel at least 9 inches. So to do this, you roll 2 dice and add them together, and this is the distance your models can move in the charge. Made it with room to spare. Now I move up and engage the warriors. That's all the charging out of the way. Now we can move on to the fight phase. To decide who goes first, you always start with units that charge this turn. So that's going to be the Death Dread. If there aren't any new charges in a turn, but units are still fighting from a previous turn, you start with the other player. So as this is my turn, Penny would choose a unit to fight first, and then we'd alternate back and forth.
But this time Guy charged, so he gets to go first no matter what.
Right, the Death Dread's up. First, we do a thing called a pylon move, where we can maneuver up to 3 inches to position ourselves where we want to be in the fight. This can be useful for planning your next moves. Now, how do we actually fight? Pretty simple. First, we figure out how many attacks the Death Dread can make. In its profile, under A for attacks, it says 3. This is its base attacks. Now, let's see if it has any weapons that add to this. Nah, as we can see under the Dread Claw, the Death Dread's melee weapon, that I can make an additional attack with this weapon. And because I've equipped the Death Dread with 3 of these Dread Claws, it can make 3 additional attacks. So that's 6 in total. So 6 dice in hand. Now we figure out what we need to roll to hit. For that we look at the model's WS, and that's its weapon skill, and we can see that it says 3+. So let's roll 6 dice, hitting on 3s or above. Oh, 5 hits, pretty good. Now let's figure out if these successful hits wound the Necron warriors. To do that, we check the strength of the melee weapon. Under S for strength in the datasheet, we see that it says ×2. That means we use the strength of the unit itself, the Death Dread, and double it. its strength is already 5, which means that the strength of these attacks is going to be 10. Crazy. Now we've already seen that when the attacking strength is higher than the target's toughness, you wound on a 3, but when it's double or more, like in this case, with strength 10 versus toughness 4, you wound on 2s. Okay, let's roll. Nice, that's all of them. So that's 5 successful wounding rolls made. And now would usually be the time that Penny would take her armor saves, but if we look at the profile for the Dreadclaw, it says that it has an AP, armor penetration, of -3. That'll reduce Penny's 4+ save to an impossible 7+, so she won't get to take any. Now the Dreadclaw's attacks don't just do 1 damage, these incredibly powerful attacks do 3 damage each. Now fortunately for Necrons though, a single attack can't kill more than 1 model. There were 5 successful attacks, so even if they do loads of damage to those 5 models, only 5 die. Damage doesn't spill over to the other models. If these Necrons had multiple wounds, 2 or 3 each, it would have still killed them outright, so tactically it's always more effective to target enemies that have multiple wounds with high damage weapons.
Okay, so 5 dead, maybe. The warriors still get to do their reanimation protocols. Rolling 5 dice, needing 5s, and remembering to reroll 1s. So 2 are saved, meaning 3 die, leaving just 4 models in the unit. Now the Death Dread has finished its attacks, all the charging units are done, and it's my turn to pick a unit to fight with. The only one that's in engagement range, within 1 inch, is my unit of 4 warriors here. First, I pile in up to 3 inches. I'm going to sweep around here so that I can be within 3 inches of that objective. All models that are within 1 inch of the enemy, or within half an inch of friendly models that are within half an inch from the enemy can fight. Basically, anyone that's really close. Now, let's see how many attacks the Necron warriors make. A in their profile. Just 1. Great. So that's 4 models doing 1 attack each, and their WS is 3+, so I'll be hitting on 3s. Well, at least they all hit. The warriors don't have melee weapons, so they just use the strength in their profile, which is 4, less than the Death Dread's toughness of 7, so I'm only wounding on 5s. Pfft, just 1. No armor penetration from the basic attacks the warriors are making, so the Death Dread gets to make its full 3+ armor save. And obviously makes it. Great. No damage done to the Death Dread at all. So, everyone that can fight has done so. Now we move on to the morale phase. In this turn, I lost 6 Necron warriors, so there's a chance I could lose more when I take a leadership test. Let's roll and find out. Nice! Even though I rolled a 4, that still only brings the total to 10, and that is my leadership value. The result of the test needs to exceed my leadership for me to fail. Brave, brave sandy boys. So Orc turn 2 was pretty horrible. Let's see if I can turn this around in my turn 2. In my command phase, even though you could argue that both the Death Dread and my warriors are within range of this objective, I technically hold it because my warriors have the special rule called Objective Secured, meaning that they take priority over enemies that don't have that rule, and the Death Dread doesn't. 5 victory points for me. In the movement phase, I'm going to try to get out of this suicidal fight that the warriors are facing against the Death Dread. If they stay there in the fight phase, because it's my turn, Guy will get to go first and will definitely kill the rest of them. I'm going to make a move called Falling Back. This means I can make my normal move in any direction, so long as I don't end my move within engagement range, 1 inch, of the Death Dread I'm escaping or any other enemy model. The trade-off is that they won't get to shoot or charge this turn, but seeing as how they'd be dead anyway, it's probably a good choice. This has now freed up the Death Dread to be a target in the shooting phase, because you can't shoot into ongoing fights. My bottom unit of Necron warriors are going to move their regular 5 inches closer to the Death Dread, getting within 3 inches of that objective marker, and ready to open fire on the Death Dread, hopefully finishing it off. So we can't do anything with that top squad because they fell back, but let's target the Death Dread with the bottom squad. That's 9 warriors, firing twice because they're within rapid fire range on their Gauss flares. 18 shots, hitting on their ballistic skill of 3+. Fantastic. We needed those because now we're only wounding on 5s, because the Death Dread's toughness, 7, is higher than the Gauss flayer's strength of 4. Whoa mama, 11 wounds going through on a 5+. That's got to be a dead, surely.
11 saves to make on a 4+, because of the Gauss Flayer's AP of -1. This is going to be tough. 6 failed. That means my Death Dread is definitely destroyed. If we check out its profile, there's a small chance it could explode, doing damage to everything around it. But that only happens if I roll a 6. No explosions this time, what a shame.
Death Dread gone, that's all the shooting I've got, so we move on to the charge phase. My bottom squad are about 10 inches away from those orc boys, and even though warriors aren't really cut out for hand-to-hand combat, if I successfully charge them, I'll get to fight first, and hopefully kill a few before they attack me. I know Guy hasn't got any command points left, so he can't Overwatch. I might as well try. Rolling 2 dice to get the distance. Whoa, here we go! The Necron warriors are charging the orc boys. Right, put 'em up, stupid orcs. I pile in 3 inches to get as many of my warriors in engagement range as I can. That's all of them. My warriors get 1 attack each, so that's 9 in total. They have a weapon skill of 3+, so they're hitting on 3s. 6 make it. Now, orcs are pretty tough, toughness 5, and my melee attacks are only strength 4, so those 6 successful hits will be wounding the orcs on 5s. 3 wounds, not terrible. Now, let's see if the orcs can save them. Remember, the orcs have a really bad armour save, just a 6+, but because my melee attacks don't have any armour penetration, they still get to try.
Okay, 3 saves to make, and I don't make any of them. Uh-oh, that's 3 boys I need to remove. Now that my boys are engaged and fighting, that model that has the big shooter is less important than the ones that are equipped with sluggers and choppers, so I'll remove the big shooter model and 2 of the regular boys. That leaves me with just 3 boys and the boss knob in the squad to fight back. Let's pile in first and then figure out how many attacks we can make. Each boy gets 2 attacks, and the boss knob gets 3 because he's a better fighter. But take a look at the profile for the chopper, the weapon all of these models are carrying. It gives them all an additional attack. So the boys will be making 3 attacks and the knob will be making 4. And that's why I got rid of the big shooter model, because he would have only been making 2. So even though I've only got 4 models left, I'm making 13 attacks. Orcs really love fighting up close. Because the boss knob and the orcs have different strengths in their profiles, I'm going to be using different coloured dice for the boss knob's 4 attacks. So 13 attacks, hitting on their weapon skill of 3. Nice, 10 making their mark. The strength of the chopper is listed as user, so checking the datasheet, we're going to use whatever the strength is for the model that made the attacks. The regular boy's strength is 4, which equals the Necron's toughness of 4, which means these regular dice will be wounding on 4s. That's what happens when the strength and toughness is the same. However, the boss knob is stronger, strength 5, so we know we're going to be wounding on 3s. Let's go! 6 wounds going through, pretty decent. Choppers also have an armour penetration value of -1, so the Necron warrior's 4+ save gets reduced 1 point to 5+, a bit trickier to make.
Well, I still made 2 of them, so 4 warriors die, unless I can reanimate them. Doing the reanimation protocol rolls, 1 manages to pull himself back together, so I'm down to 6 warriors in this unit. Every unit that could have fought has done it. That's the fight phase over, and we move on to the morale phase. I only lost 3 models from that warrior unit this turn, so I know I can't possibly fail a morale test with a leadership of 10. But Guy lost 3 boys from his unit, so there's a chance that he could fail it.
So I roll 1 dice, and add 3 for the models I lost. Uh-oh, it looks like I'm going to be losing some more. So I lose 1 straight away. Let's choose a basic boy. Now we have to make an attrition test. So we roll a dice for each model in that unit, so that's 3, and because the unit is under half its starting strength, models now run away on a 1 and a 2. Okay, 1 more flees, so just a knob and 1 boy left. Looking pretty thin on the ground here. Time for Orcs turn 3, my final turn in this short demo game. I score another 5 victory points because my weird boy is the only model within 3 inches of that top objective, but I don't score the bottom objective. Both the boys and the warriors have the objective secured rule, but when both units have that rule, the one with the most models in it has control. So I'm ahead on points, but I'll only win if I stay alive until the end of the game, and this is the last round. Let's keep these boys in combat with the warriors. They'll be dead in Penny's shooting phase if they fall back anyway, but I'll move the weird boy so he's closer to the top squad of Necron warriors. That way I can hopefully charge them. In the Psychic phase, I'm going to try to cast Smite against the top squad of Necron warriors, needing just a warp charge of 5. No, I failed it. That's a shame, so nothing happens in the Psychic phase. On to the Shooting phase. Now, my weird boy doesn't have any ranged weapons, and the models that are engaged in a fight can't shoot, so you might think this phase is over, but my boys have a surprise. Because they're armed with sluggers, and they have the pistol type, that means they're allowed to shoot at point blank range, even if they're busy fighting, but they can only target the unit they're engaging in the fight. So they shoot, 1 attack each, hitting on their pretty bad ballistic skill of 5+. And both miss, typical. Now let's move on to the charge phase. Bit less confident, a bit more desperate now. I need to jump my weird boy into combat to avoid the Necron's next shooting phase. Just over 9 inches between my weird boy and that top squad of warriors. And I fail it. Luckily, the orcs have a special rule called Here We Go that lets me reroll failed charge rolls. Whew, just made it. So if you remember, now we're in the fight phase, units that charged get to go first. So the weird boy gets to flex his buns of steel on those Necron warriors. He has 3 attacks and a weapon skill of 3+. Excellent, all 3 hit. Now let's see what his strength is. He's using his melee weapon, the Weird Boy Staff, which has a strength modifier of +3. The Weird Boy's base strength is 5, so that means he's smashing those Necrons with strength 8, double their toughness of 4, which means he'll be wounding on 2s. Nice, all of them wound. The Weird Boy Staff has an armor penetration value of -1, so the warriors get their saves reduced to 5+. And Penny manages to make 2 of them. Does that one dead Necron warrior reanimate on a 5+?
Nope. He gone, buddy!
Now, because all the charging units have fought, the person whose turn it isn't, so that's Penny, because this is Orc's turn 3, gets to choose who to fight with first, and then we alternate until all the fights are done.
Your weird boy has already fought, so I might as well try to kill some more of those boys before they get to fight back. I choose to fight with the bottom squad of warriors. 6 warriors are still in the fight, with 1 attack each, hitting on 3s. Nice, 5 hits. The warriors are strength 4 against the boys' toughness of 5. I'll need 5s to wound. 3 successful rolls there, which might be enough to wipe out that unit. It all comes down to Guy's 6+ armor saves.
Oh well, what a shame. All the models from that unit are dead, so there's no way I can fight back against those Necron warriors, and they're free to make what's called a consolidation move, where you choose to move up to 3 inches towards the closest enemy unit.
Yes, I'm going to do that. Ready to rapid fire your stupid weird boy to death. Now it would be Guy's turn to choose a unit to fight with, but his only engaged units have already fought, so it's my turn again. I'm going to activate the top unit of warriors and see if I can hurt that weird boy. Just 3 warriors left in this squad, 1 attack each, hitting on 3s. Wow, just 1 hit. Great. Now, with strength 4 against toughness 5, I'm wounding on 5s. Nothing at all! Well, punching orcs in the face isn't exactly what warriors are good at.
Well, that's the fight phase over. Moving on to the morale phase, and no one took enough casualties in this turn to warrant taking a leadership test. Well, no one whose squad wasn't just wiped out. So that's the end of Orc's turn 3. On to Necron's turn 3, the third and final turn of the final battle round.
In the command phase, my warriors are holding the bottom center objective now that those pesky orc boys are dead, so I get 5 victory points. That means we're on 10 each. Well, Guy, there's only one way to end this now. Sorry, but I need to kill that weird boy. In the movement phase, I'm going to fall back with the Necron warriors that are engaged in combat with the weird boy. They won't be able to shoot or charge, but hopefully my other unit of warriors can finish the job. I'm going to move them 5 inches toward the weird boy, making sure they're within half range, so I'll get to fire twice with my rapid fire Gauss flares. Again, I don't have any psychers, so no psychic phase, straight to shooting. Right, 6 warriors aiming at the weird boy, 2 shots each, so that's 12 attacks, hitting on their ballistic skill of 3+. Yeah! Now to wound. It's strength 4 against toughness 5, so I need to roll 5s. Yes! 6 wounds! And crazily, even though that weird boy is an important character, it still only has a 6+ save. It does have a bare bum, to be fair. Now, the Gauss flares have an armor penetration of -1, so Guy won't even get to save it, and the weird boy only has 5 wounds, so that means 6 attacks going through unsaved. He is dead.
Sometimes important characters have a thing called an invulnerable save, which is like an armour save that doesn't get reduced by armour penetration. This is usually to represent force fields and magical auras, stuff like that. Well, this weird boy doesn't have one of those, so yeah, he's toast.
The orcs are cleared off the table and I win. A close game, well fought, but yeah, Skelly boys smashed the green chunky monkeys.
So that's it. We hope you found this video useful and that it's helped you form a rough outline of the basic mechanics of the 9th edition of Warhammer 40,000. This is obviously no replacement for getting hold of the rulebooks and codices, but it should give you a good foundation to start playing the game. There's a lot of other small details to cover, like, well, cover, and how to interact with buildings, climbing walls, getting in and out of vehicles, that sort of stuff. But as you play more games, read more rules, and watch more battle reports, you'll pick up on how all of these things work in no time. Warhammer 40,000 is constantly evolving, with FAQs, yearly updates, full chapter approved, but it's all still based on the concepts in this video.
Good luck getting started. If you're looking for easy to follow painting advice and fast, fun battle reports, subscribe to this channel. That's sort of our specialty. We've recently started a deathmatch series where all the main Warhammer 40k armies are going head to head in a tournament. We'll leave a link to the first episode in the video description.
I know this might be the first Midwinter Minis video you've seen, but this channel exists entirely due to the generosity and support of our amazing fans on Patreon. And you can join up for just $2 a month, which allows us to create helpful hobby videos like this full time. And if you fancy joining, you can find the link in the description too. Thank you so much for watching. Please like the video, leave a comment, and we'll catch you next time. Bye for now.
Bye!